Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well tonight. So I just want to say a big hello to whoever's on the stream. We have Anonymous. Great to see you, Anonymous. Hope you're well. We have Killer. Great to have you on, Killer. Thanks for moderating once again. Who else have we got? We got Tom. Great to see you, Tom. Hope you're well. Good evening, hamsters. We have Reagan Elite. Great to see you, Reagan. Hope you're well. Pete, great to see you. Andrew, great to have you on once again. Yoni, great to see you. Let me see. Tiny Demolition Lover, and here we go. We have Maura, great to see you. Good evening from Scotland. Hope you're all well in Scotland. We have Raven, great to see you. Ministerian, great to have you on once again, moderating. Moody Fox, great to see you. Dave, Dude, great to have you on. Yes, hard Brexit it is. Let's make this a national holiday. Never forget. Who else have we got? Katrina, great to see you. Dano, great to have you on. We have Jean, great to see you. Ben, great to have you on, Ben. 2021 is not a leap year, so it's shorter than 2020. That's good. At least that. We have Akismad, great to see you, Akismad. Hope you're well. We have, let me see, Gingers, great to see you. Giorgio, great to have you on. Hope you're well. Brian, great to see you. Buonasera a tutti. Buonasera anche a te. Kenny, great to see you, Kenny. Hope you're well. Jared, great to see you. Mark Vessling on Brexit. Great to have you on, Mark. I hope you're well. Quality videos coming from you all the time. Great to I'd love to perhaps maybe in the future do a live stream with yourself if that's possible. We could bring in Bowler Hat Man and maybe Phil if that's possible. Kendra, great to see you. Jacob, Cotton Cat, great to have you on, Cotton. Hope you're well. We have Magister, great to see you. Beer Wizard, wow, we're up to 117. Martin, great to have you on. Barry, I'll have to go through very quickly. Ben, Jacob, Super, Jim, great to see you, Jim. Hope you're well. Whelan, Derek, Ditch, Haps, Nicholas, Paz, Min in Malta, great to have you on, Min in Malta. Hope you're well again. There's no need to scratch the mic. It's the voice. That's the okay. Sorry about that. Leon, great to have you on. Stuart, okay. I hope everyone's very well. So let's jump into the live stream. Of course, if you'd like to hit me with a super chat, that's greatly appreciated. Wee Scott's Dog, great to have you on, Wee Scott's Dog. If you'd like to hit me with a super chat, I'll prioritize your comment, of course. And you can also support the stream by becoming a Patreon. That's the best way to support the stream and the channel. But also you can just share the videos on social media. That's a great way to support the channel as well. So the great news, of course, is that we have a vaccine. And well, that's not news, but the vaccine has been rolled out in the UK. That's great news for the UK. And the very first receiver, the very first person to receive the vaccination was Margaret Keenan, who's aged 90. So I just want to read a quick review of this article from The Guardian. It says, a COVID vaccine UK woman becomes first in world to receive Pfizer jab. Margaret Keenan, 90, given approved vaccine to start mass coronavirus immunization program. So this is good news. A 90-year-old woman has become the first patient in the world to receive the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine after its approval in the UK, where the NHS has launched its biggest vaccine campaign. Margaret Keenan received the jab at 6:31 a.m. in Coventry, marking the start of a historic mass vaccination program. This is by far the largest in the NHS 73-year history. The vaccine will be administered at 70 hospital hubs around the UK, with patients aged 80 and over who are already attending hospital as an outpatient or have been discharged home after a hospital stay, being the first in line. So this makes sense. Yes, the most vulnerable in society are going to receive the vaccine first, and I think this is some good news. I think Let me read some of your comments before. Bill Gates is controlling Margaret. She has Windows 10 installed. We have to make a joke of these things because no, I missed it. Installed after her vaccine. Well, at least it's Windows 10 and not Vista or Windows 98 or Windows 95 even. That would have been problematic. The NHS is running the vaccine, thank God. Yes, this is a very, very important point, and thanks for raising that, Reagan Elite. It's the NHS that's running this, not Serco, not some private company, some other private company. CGM, great to have you on the stream. Sorry I'm late, no worries. Glasgow Case, great to have you on. Hope you're well. If she lives in Coventry, COVID is the last problem. I have a feeling I'm going to be laughing a bit in this during this stream. Hooray, Margaret Keenan now freed from secret control of Bill Gates' virus. Now his plan is foiled. I didn't actually think I'd be laughing about all of this so early on. I listen to Max's ASMR stream till I fall asleep. Good night, everyone. No, don't fall asleep. We have a long way to go yet. There's still a chance that Boris will finally work out how to switch on the oven, but I'm not very hopeful. No, well, about the oven-ready deal, remember Boris was talking about sticking it in the microwave at gas mark 5. So that was not a gas-powered microwave. I'd like to see that. Breaking level. No, not there yet. Do you think the launch was sabotaged? It was in Shakespeare country, and William Shakespeare got it second. Love the healthcare workers. Yeah, that was an amazing. So I don't know if people know, one of the the second person to receive the vaccine was called William Shakespeare. That was interesting. Margaret looks great for 91 next week. That's great. Yes, she does. Very. And I haven't seen her interviewed, but she seems like a nice lady. So Keenan, known as Maggie, received the injection from a nurse, from the nurse May Parsons at University Hospital, and said it was a privilege. The former jewellery shop assistant, who retired 4 years ago, turns 91 next. She retired 4 years ago, and she's 91. That's working late, isn't it? In life. I feel so privileged to be the first person vaccinated against COVID-19. It's the best early birthday present I could wish for, because it means I can finally look forward to spending time with my family and friends in the new year, after being on my own for most of the year. Yeah, so this is really important. It's about getting people. My volume is a bit low. Let me see. I received Mark, thank you so much for that super chat. Oh, it's just a heart. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. If you have a comment, I'll respond to it. A vaccine, a kingdom for a vaccine. Andrew, thank you so much for that. Are we on for a no deal? Sorry, Australian terms. I'm going to get to that in a moment. I do promise you. But just to give you a preview, I think it's going to be Australian terms, I'm afraid. But I will explain that later on in the stream. Thanks very much again for that super chat. Oh, poor Boris, I knew him. More Botswana terms. The oven-ready deal was actually put in the microwave. Unfortunately, they forgot to take the tin foil off, so it exploded. And took the microwave with it as well. So it wasn't just the deal was destroyed, but also the microwave was destroyed. So she's originally from Enniskillen, Northern Ireland, but has lived in Coventry for more than 60 years. I can't thank May and the NHS staff enough, who have looked after me tremendously. And my advice to anyone offered the vaccine is to take it. If I can have it at 90, then you can have it too. So this is a very kind words from this lady. And once again, this is very important that it's the NHS that's involved, but running the rollout of this, which is extremely important. So we're going to go to a video in a moment, but I just want to read some more of your comments. Australian terms. Did they declare on 500 for 3? Isn't it a North Korean deal? it probably, post Brexit, the UK will be looking more and more like North Korea, I imagine, with Kim Jong Boris in charge, or Kim Jong Mog in charge. Mog. What am I saying? Mog. Kim Jong Mog in charge. Pluto terms. Aliens are coming. Farage is tracking all the UFOs. Yes, I just saw a video just before I came on the stream from Nigel Farage. I'm jumping around here, but it was about trees being chopped down in his local area. What the hell? Nigel Farage is trying to hit all bases, isn't he? So he's like, he must have a very busy schedule. So on Monday, I'm in Dover filming Refugees. On Tuesday, I'm on LBC. No, not LBC, on Talk Radio. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much for that kind donation. On Tuesday, I'm on Talk Radio criticizing migrants. On Wednesday, I'm meeting with Boris Johnson for tea to talk about Brexit. On Thursday, I'm in the forest protesting against trees being cut down, or pretending to be protesting, actually. That was a weird video. Why does Kent need trees? They've got Portaloos. Australian deal, Australian style, Canada style. Yes, but I think it's all going to be doggy style. That's the way Boris Johnson's deal is going to be. I know, that was a bad joke. Okay. So let's move on to I want to show you this video from Channel 4 about the rollout of the vaccine. So this is quite interesting. So let's have a look at this.
Bottle and history in the making. 70 hospitals across the UK, thousands offering their arms to the Pfizer-BioNTech jab. 90-year-old Margaret Keenan was the first at Coventry Vaccine Hub at precisely 6:31 a.m.
Hopefully it'll help other people to come along and do as I did, try and do the best to get rid of this terrible thing.
Much has been made of the UK being the first in the world, which is to forget the 44,000 trial volunteers, half of whom had the actual vaccine. But this was not a day to split hairs. It was a day, in at least one case, to let go of all those pent-up emotions.
Well, it's just, it's been so...
I haven't actually seen this. This is Matt Hancock. I heard about this, but I haven't actually seen it. This is Matt Hancock pretending to be emotional. Funny, she doesn't look over 90. She doesn't look a day over 90. That's not the image I wanted. Why are they clapping that? I think they're clapping because it's been a huge success. Boris smuggling comments to Brussels behind his face mask. He's drunk. Is he going mad? This is let's have a look at this. Let me just go back a little bit. Matt Hancock pretending to be crying.
Well, it's just, it's been such a tough year for so many people, and there's William.
Is he laughing or is he crying? Bill Gates said that with voice control. Thanks very much, Glasgow Kiss. Can you believe that they're employing celebs, including Eamon Holmes Eamon Holmes? Oh my God. To be fair, he's laugh crying out of relief, isn't he? Did Hancock's horse come in? Will she have a dose in 4 weeks? Yeah, I think so. I think with the Pfizer one, there are 2 doses. There's one now, and then in a few weeks' time there will be another dose. He's laughing. I think he's laughing here. I don't think he's crying.
Shakespeare, putting it so simply for everybody that, we can get on with our lives.
William
Matt Hancock is weird.
Shakespeare not resurrected for a photo call, but an 81-year-old from Warwickshire who was the second person to be vaccinated today.
It could make a difference to our lives from now on, couldn't it?
And bringing with it...
He actually looks a bit like William Shakespeare, doesn't he? Just give him a wig, but he does look a bit... He even has the little beard.
On, couldn't it?
And bringing with it maybe a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, it means a lot. Hopefully, once it's rolled out to everyone, I'll be able to see my grandchildren again.
It has been a logistical nightmare and a marvel all rolled into one. The vaccine's limitations are well known now. It has to be transported and stored at below 70 Celsius. It needs to be thawed and can't be broken down from the pack sizes of 975, which is why the plan to first vaccinate care home residents had to be pushed to a later date, so there was no wastage. Instead, today it was patients aged 80 and over who were already attending hospital or who were about to be discharged, and NHS and care home staff. It is hard to believe that it is just over a year ago since they identified a new virus in Wuhan in China. They hadn't even given it the name COVID-19. And now, here we are, the first vaccinations. The health secretary's called it V-Day. There is still a long way to go, but there is finally a glimmer of hope that one day soon this will be over.
Yeah, look, it is positive. 975 is a bit largish. Matt Hancock thinking about Pretty Patel. He's crying because he can't get close enough to the female interviewer. Is this the worst interview? So many to choose from. I hope he doesn't get to see a light at the end of the tunnel. That would be mean. Brian, thank you so much for that super chat. I hope she grows up to be PM someday. No, I'm not sure who you're on about. Thank you so much for that super chat, Brian. It all feels rushed still yet. We can't get a vaccine for cancer. That's been around for a long time. Cancer is different because it's not a virus. I think you need a vaccine against a virus. You're going to use vaccines against viruses. End the pandemic, not going to work if we don't get everyone vaccinated in 12 months. Yes, so it's very important that people understand that this is. I need to know who's under my desk. No, cotton cat. That's terrible. No. I don't want that mental image. Maybe it's Dominic Cummings. Maybe it's Priti Patel. We don't know. Matt is leaking with the vaccine. But no, yes, the dude raises a valid point. The idea that, this, just because we have a vaccine now doesn't mean that, we can go back to normal tomorrow. No, we're going to have to maintain social distancing, wash our hands, face, space, as Boris Johnson always says, for at least the end of this year, because you're not going to have everyone vaccinated or sufficient numbers vaccinated immediately. You're going to have to maintain certain restrictions for the foreseeable future. Now, maybe not as strict as a lockdown, but at least some sort of restrictions. Graham, thank you so much for that super chat. Matt H is human. Is that allowed in the Tory party? Matt Hancock is human. Well, I think he is. Yeah, he's a strange individual, but is it allowed? I'm not so sure. Boris seems more human than Matt Hancock, I have to say, though. Okay, let's continue with this video.
And hope was everywhere here at Milton Keynes Hospital. It brimmed with eager staff and eager older people.
Which way do you want me to faint, left or right?
Tell me what the year has been like for you.
Isolating, so, you know, grandchildren, missing out on them, missing out on hugs, and we had a great granddaughter, she's nearly going on for 2, and we just couldn't sort of see her or anything.
Well, I don't like injections because when I was in the forces, I had hundreds of injections, but it's one of those things.
Why did you want to have the vaccination?
I was offered it because I've been a volunteer down here and that sort of thing for quite a few years, well, nearly 20 years actually. And they offered it to me so that I can be safer to come back in and carry on.
It's been a hard...
What an amazing woman. You know, she wanted to get the vaccine so she can return to the hospital and work as a volunteer. Major kudos to this lady. You know, she's elderly. She's probably received it because she has been self-isolating and staying away from volunteering, and now she's got the vaccine, and her first desire is to return to the hospital to volunteer. Major kudos, lady.
Hard year for the staff too, and today's vaccinations was one more ask of them.
NHS staff have worked extraordinarily hard, and I'm so proud that they have been at the forefront of the response to this pandemic. We've got yet another couple of months of this. We've got even more tough times ahead, and that's why we are asking the public to, yes, step forward and have your vaccine, but also to follow the rules that we're asking.
Today is just the beginning. The BioNTech Pfizer vaccine works after 2 injections 3 weeks apart. 12 days after the first dose, you get partial immunity. 21 days is the second dose, and a week later is full immunity, or at least in 95% of cases. So those being vaccinated today will receive the second jab on the 29th, with immunity from the 5th of January.
It's amazing to see the vaccine coming out. It's amazing to see this tremendous shot in the arm for the entire nation, but we can't afford to relax now.
And there are still unanswered questions. The vaccine stops people becoming ill, but it's not known if it prevents transmission, nor is it known if there will need to be booster jabs.
And that's a big issue. So is it, I would imagine that even if you're vaccinated, you know, if you touch a surface where there is COVID, you're probably going to transmit it. It stays on particular surfaces. So you may not be infected, but you're going to spread it around. I think, look, of course, I don't know, but I would imagine it's the case. You would have thought that all the time volunteering people, someone would have taught her to put a mask on. I didn't want to say that. I said, that mask isn't on correctly. Yeah, no, but we'll let her off for this one time. 28 Days After is a horror movie, though. Yes. It's a bad choice on the number of days. Boris needs a bigger face mask. The dark helmet one. Where is his nostrils? I don't know why. And here is the clown show.
UK has ordered 7 vaccines, 40 million from Pfizer and 100 million from Oxford AstraZeneca. And a peer-reviewed study published today confirmed their vaccine is safe and effective, although it's still not clear why the trials showed that a half dose and a full dose were more effective than 2 full doses. The medical regulator, though, is expected to approve their vaccine shortly.
So, some good news. Let's go. I want to show you a bit more from Channel 4.
I spoke to the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, and I began by asking him how he felt seeing the vaccine being rolled out.
Well, it was really emotional.
So the first time it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a, you know, whoop, I need to put the drugs away. But once again, he's laughing again. Matt.
I mean, we've been working on this for so long, and it's not just, of course, for everybody who's been vaccinated today. And I'm here at Milton Keynes, and I've met some of the people who've been vaccinated. And but it's actually...
He looks like he's going to go, yes, we did it. We won the World Cup.
For all of us, because this vaccine shows the route out of the pandemic.
How do you now build confidence in the vaccine amongst the general public? Because the WHO recommends using trusted messengers to do that. Who might those trusted messengers be, do you think?
I think Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson should be the one. You know, he's a trusted messenger. People really believe when Boris Johnson is speaking that everything he's saying is, is gospel truth, you know. So probably not Boris Johnson, but someone, I don't know. Guys, in the stream, who would you suggest would be a trusted individual to to promote use of take up of this vaccine? Boris says, Darth, I am your father. Just specific, but not, I did work. Don't buy Hancock emotions. Does anyone really? He's on laughing gas. Pretty Patel. Oh my God. Matt on COVID drugs. In the UK, Santa Claus. You would trust me? Ah, okay. Thank you very much, Reagan Elite. Peter Bourne. Dr. Howard Shipman. Crocodile Hancock. Prince Andrew. Tim Martin, the Punisher, the Queen, Mr. Blobby, Biden, okay. Conservator, great to have you on the stream. I hope you're well. Vaccination done. Katie Price, Ursula von der Leyen, okay. Santa, Dominic Cummins, Jacob Rees-Mogg. His Royal Highness Charles, Prince of Wales. Thank you very much, Ministerian. I like Charles. I'm not a fan of the royals at all, but I do like Prince Charles. Thank you very much for that. Your hamsters, very good choice, Tom. John Cleese, Nigel Farage. No, please, no. Giuliani, Mike Gove. No, Michael Gove. James O'Brien would be a good choice. Piers Morgan. Trump. If he injects bleach, people do it. People do it, yes. Zoe Castles, welcome to the stream. Uncle Nigel Farage, but only for English vaccines. And Nigel decides who gets them. Who wants some vodka? Drink with me. Good choice. I hope it's nice. Stephen Fry, yes. Jeremy Corbyn, the Gerbil King. Attenborough, that's a good choice. We're talking about vaccine or euthanasia? The ghost of Thatcher. Try the vaccine, the other Pfizer medication. Roy Castle, I'm not... Philip Seymour Hoffman, poor guy, he's not around with us anymore. Mitch, great to have you on the stream, hope you're well. No one, you wouldn't trust anyone. Piers Corbyn. If anyone doesn't know who Piers Corbyn is, it's Jeremy Corbyn's brother, and he's a tinfoil hat merchant. Mr. Bean.
Best people to make this case are the clinicians. The jab is safe. It wouldn't be approved by the MHRA if it wasn't safe.
So not politicians or the
also
Queen?
People listening. Well, of course, we have a role as politicians, having led the programme. And
would it help for the Queen to be pictured having the vaccine?
Well, Her Majesty has said that she will be vaccinated, and she'll let everybody know when that's happened. So, all nonagenarians and octogenarians are going to be offered the vaccine. And one of the things I love is the fact that the principle of the NHS, the founding principle, is that we should treat people according to clinical need, not ability to pay. And that goes
for now, Matt, okay? David Icke. I hate auto text. Patrick Stewart. No, so this would be an interesting idea. The Queen getting vaccinated on live TV. That would be a good motivation, I think, for many people. Putin, Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un should all hands and tell everyone we should trust them. Viva la Republik. Very good. Our German queen will be vaccinated by German vaccine. Lord Buckethead, yes. I trust him much more over Prince Andrew. He's used to pricking. Matt is a hopeless ideologist. Yeah, like the NHS done a fantastic job, but don't worry. Within a few months' time, after this pandemic is over, we'll be preparing to sell it off and convincing people that it was actually better off in private hands after all.
Everybody in this country, it goes for Her Majesty, and it goes for everybody else.
Are you personally worried as Health Secretary that lack of trust in the government will lead to many, many people saying, no, they don't want the vaccine?
Well, the good news is we have a majority, according to most opinion surveys, of people who are actively enthusiastic. And around 3/4 who say that they plan to get vaccinated, and obviously we hope to continue to increase that over time. But the good news is
3/4. Sorry, let me just double check what he said here.
3/4 who say that
will lead to many, many people saying no, they don't want the vaccine.
Well, the good news is we have a majority, according to most opinion surveys, of people who are actively enthusiastic.
A majority. 51% is a majority, Matt.
And around 3/4 who say that they plan to get vaccinated.
3/4 is not a lot. I don't know if that's enough. Prince Philip, the Donald. Max, do you think Chianotto do you drink Chianotto in Italy? A good drink in the evening. Chianotto is very good. It's a little bit like Coca-Cola, but it has a different flavor. It's very difficult to describe, but it's very nice. I do recommend it. It's a soft drink. It's not an alcoholic drink. But I think it has caffeine in it, so it may not be a good thing to drink in the evening. What's the defeated of HOLs today, Max, regarding the NHS? Wasn't that the defeat in the House of Lords today, Max, regarding the NHS? No, I haven't seen that one, Artemis. Great to have you on the stream. So I didn't see that. Blackadder, 75% is closer. Because of herd immunity, you need to have a considerable amount. I think it's about over 60%. So we're not there yet.
And obviously we hope to continue to increase that over time. But the good news is, if you look at international surveys, we're actually up there amongst the highest, which is good. Now, I want to do the work over the coming weeks to see that number increase, to give people confidence that they should come forward, that it's the right thing for them, it's the right thing for their communities. So, we've still got...
Then good. Keep the politicians away from any of the vaccinations.
Work to do on that.
Given there will be fewer doses of the vaccine and the Oxford vaccine, if it gets approved as well, fewer than expected by the end of the year, do you think people in their 40s and 50s should expect to wait possibly into the summer to get this?
No, I hope that we can get through the programme sooner than that. We aim to reach all of those who are vulnerable by the spring.
But all vulnerable people by the spring, that implies people who...
So he didn't answer her question. She said about people in their 40s and 50s. Will they be expecting it next summer?
Aren't necessarily vulnerable, healthy 40, 50-somethings, not until the summer potentially.
When we've come to the priority and taken the clinical advice on who to prioritise, age is the dominant factor in that prioritisation. And as we know, people of, in our 40s, like you and me, are much, much less likely to have serious incidents of the disease or die of coronavirus than those who are elderly. And so that means that we have got this relatively straightforward prioritisation, which is essentially based on age, and then with other clinical vulnerabilities and, of course, health and social care workers.
Okay, but you're not answering the question. Her question was about when, not if, but when. And of course, I think it's important because, the government will be telling people, excuse me, now we have this vaccine, now you can get back to work. Yes, but what if I don't have the vaccine yet? I'm waiting for the vaccine. A lot of the Tory backers, a lot of the people within the Conservative Party, have been pushing Boris to, reopen the economy. Now we have this vaccine, reopen the economy. And I think there's a risk, and I hope I'm wrong about this, but there is a risk that the economy will be opened before everyone's vaccinated. And you're going to see another spike.
Clearly, the vaccination programme will not be rolled out in time to prevent there being lots of restrictions for the foreseeable future. You've made that clear. We've only just emerged from the second national lockdown in England, and yet the virus is growing in Essex, Kent, London. Should those areas expect to be put into Tier 3 before Christmas, do you think?
Well, we'll take these decisions on the 16th of December. The tiered system is precisely there so that when areas have got a problem, we can put them into a higher tier and work with people to get the virus under control.
We haven't had a chance to speak to you since our investigation in May about the depletion of the PPE stockpile. So now that the NAO has reported on this very area, do you regret overseeing the depletion of that stockpile to the point where you had to spend £10 billion extra to secure enough of it?
No, I'm absolutely proud of the work.
I'm very proud of the money that we gave to private companies who in many cases didn't actually develop PPE, and also companies that did produce PPE who were given a priority because, well, they were friends of mine, or they donated to the party, or they had actually consultants working as MPs as well.
Work that the team did and that I was part of to make sure that there was never a point at which we ran out of PPE as a country.
You had to spend £10
we
billion
needed to buy
extra
from around the world. Prices went up around the world because there was this massive increase in global demand for PPE.
No, Matt, no. Wait a minute. There were companies that produced PPE in the UK, and they were saying, look, we can produce it for the NHS. And we haven't been contacted by the government. We've actually reached out to the government and we haven't been contacted. During the crisis, during that period when there was huge demand for PPE, the company turned around and said, okay, well, the UK isn't asking for any, so we're going to produce it for the USA.
And that's what the National Audit Office report found.
But the National Audit Office also reported that companies recommended by MPs were given priority PPE contracts. On a separate note, was it right that an acquaintance of yours, Alex Bourne, got a £30 million deal to supply tens of millions of vials for COVID testing, despite having no experience in that area whatsoever?
But he's a good guy. We have to give people a chance. He's a neighbour of mine, and he makes lovely scones. You should try those scones; they're amazing. And because of those scones, he deserved to have that contract.
But the thing about that contract, as with all the others, is that it wasn't signed by me and it went through the proper process. And this was a massive national effort, Kathy. That was the thing. And we were absolutely throwing everything at it to make...
But how can you say that it went through the proper channels and then in the next breath say, it was desperate. We had to cut corners.
Sure that people in hospitals like this one had PPE all the time so they could protect themselves, and I don't regret absolutely driving that as hard as I possibly could, and we did it properly and appropriately, which the National Audit Office sets out in the report, according to the rules, quite rightly.
You say
but the problem was that the rule, there were no rules. Please don't blame me. Max can't hear you. You can't hear me? Let me move a little bit closer. You should be able to hear me now. I can't write PPA. If you give me 30 billion, I can write it twice. I can write it even twice. Max, my neighbor is a plumber. I would not ask him for a colonoscopy. I feel like punching his face as he smiles too. How to say it wasn't my fault and at the same time it was all kosher, yes. To cut corners like 23 billion Brexit party. Insane.
You had no regrets about those contracts. Looking back over the last year, though, it's been an incredibly traumatic year for so many people. Do you have regrets about any decisions that the government took?
Oh yes, absolutely. There were, of course, we learned a huge amount all the way through it. I've talked before about, how the rules at the start were interpreted that people shouldn't go to the funerals of their spouses. And
What? What he's doing is, did you make any mistakes? Yes, of course we made mistakes. And then what he'll do is he'll describe something that's not really a mistake. That's not, she's talking about political corruption. Are you sorry about the political corruption that took place, where friends of the party were given contracts without any tendering process? Or are you regretting the fact that people who worked, ministers, the health minister, not him, the health secretary, but the health minister works freelance or works moonlighting as a consultant for a private company, and miraculously that private company was given a government contract. You don't have a regret about that?
I thought it was terrible, and so we changed those. And absolutely, we learnt about the fact that this virus spreads from people who don't have symptoms, which makes it so hard to control. All the way.
He's trying to turn it into something like, we learnt from all of this. Turn the negative into a positive.
Through, my team and I have tried to do the best we possibly can with the information available to us. Often,
stop saying you and your team. It's you make the decision at the end of the day.
Without enough information available, by the nature of this being a completely unprecedented event and an unprecedented disease that didn't exist a year ago. So that's been the approach that we've tried to take.
They will never apologize for the mistakes that they made. He didn't say, look, it was a bad idea to tell people not to wear a mask. Or at the beginning we said, well, it's not necessary to wear a mask. That was bad advice. We should have told people to wear a mask. We should be telling people to wear a mask now. We should have people wearing a mask both indoors and outdoors, like in other countries. We should have gone into a lockdown when we were told to, but we didn't. We're sorry about that. That was a bad call. We should have actually stayed in lockdown longer instead of coming out. We shouldn't have introduced a ridiculous tier system that didn't work. Sorry about that. He could say something like that, but no, it's all about, we learned, there were some mistakes along the way. Maybe some people died, but, you can't make an omelette without breaking some eggs.
I'm just absolutely delighted today that we've got to the day that we can finally roll out a vaccine, which is the start of the end.
Matt Hancock, thanks very much.
Well, now the AstraZeneca.
Oh my God. Okay, let's move on. Let me just go back to your comments for a moment. Let me see. I trust Fauci when he told us not to wear a mask. I will never forgive him for that. That was ridiculous advice, and I was very critical of it at the time, and not because I'm cool or anything. Obviously, I'm not cool. But what I was watching is how people in Asia maintain a certain amount of social distancing. Maybe not on Japanese bullet trains, or Japanese undergrounds, I should say. But they would wear masks all the time. Long before COVID. In South Korea, in Japan in particular, people wear masks out of common courtesy. If I have a bit of a cold, I wear a mask. And this helps reduce the spread of other viruses. So this is something that we should have taken on board, something we should still maintain. Maybe after. I think it would be something very positive to maintain in the future. You can't check your eyesight without burning some petrol. A lot of people in Britain are going in and out of shops without masks. Thanks for that comment, John, but that's disgraceful. That's terrible because, first of all, at least when you're in a confined space, you have to wear a mask. And then we also have the problem of, if you're working in a store, you're surrounded by people day in, day out, and you're afraid to actually ask people, please, can you put on your mask? Because it could be some COVID idiot who will become violent and then return with their friends and trash the place or threaten you personally. Max, I work in a toy shop. Social distancing is impossible at this time. I'm so sorry to hear that, Reagan Elite. I think the worst part about all of this as well is that companies are under a lot of pressure financially because they have to maintain some sort of social distancing. They're having fewer people come into stores. So they're maybe putting more pressure on their staff to not be too strict on the rules. And of course, they're putting their staff at risk. It's easy for someone who's sitting, in a comfortable office or in at home even, checking their bank balance for their company while their staff are at risk. I do a lot of flying. For years I wondered why Asians wore masks, right? How right they were. Yeah, Craig, I agree. I've always wondered myself, why are they wearing masks? And then I realized it's because in some cases people have, if I have a cold, I put on a mask. The level of common courtesy there, most people in Europe, and in the United States or in the West, some people would blow their nose without without a tissue or sneeze without putting their hand in front of their face. We need to change that if we want to maintain not just control over this virus, but also moving forward. Because, look, we're going to see more of this. We're not going to see... this isn't over. The coronavirus may be coming to an end with a vaccine, but because of climate change, because of pollution and other issues, we're probably going to start to see more viruses and more pandemics, unfortunately. Now, let's... let's take a little break for a moment, and then we're going to come to Brexit. But before we get to Brexit, I want to show you a funny video. And, of course, if you're new to the stream, welcome to the stream. During about halfway through the stream, we normally have our little break.
Hi there, everybody. Just want to give you...
Sorry. Just halfway through the stream, we have our little break and a little comedy moment to lighten the mood a little. And then we get back to the serious talk.
Everybody, just want to give you a wee update. That's the vaccine actually arrived in Scotland. We've asked Boris if he's got any big spare fridges, because you know how he likes a big fridge. So we'll be able to get that stored and ready to go out. But meanwhile, just want to fucking put a wee word out there. Just because the Jags are coming doesn't mean to say that you've got to go, oh, fuck it, let's relax the rules. Let's all just open up a wee pub somewhere and all go tonto. That's not going to happen. Unfortunately, we're still going to have...
Sorry, I'll go tonto? What the hell does that mean?
...have a very, as I like to call it, cosy Christmas. Just keep it cosy without the dying is the best we can do. And then see next year once this vaccine rolls out, and I swear to God right now, I see one fucker giving it, oh, the vaccine's made of rat poison and blue cheese. I will run my toe up the crack. Oh, but I think you guys are doing a great job. And don't forget, 2021 is going to be a much more positive year. You've got to remember, next year, Trump is leaving, and we're going to have a whole lot more to look forward to. That's all I can say. Look after each other. Pull on your emotional life jacket. Keep each other afloat. I am out of here. Right, I've got a fucking plaster on my heel. These shoes are killing me. Frank, get the door. I want a wee plate of rice pudding.
Very good, very good. Okay, so let's move on to Brexit. So let me just bring up the link here.
More than ever, the Brexit.
Okay, so recently I uploaded a few videos about Brexit, and I got a bit burnt because I think it was on Sunday evening, I had uploaded a video. I prepared a video, set it up to upload to drop for you guys on Monday morning, and I had received bad information that phishing had been resolved, and it turned out I was wrong, and I had to apologize for that. I had to make a correction in the video. What happened was, phishing had been resolved, but David Frost had made some comments about, these boats these foreign boats. We don't like these foreign boats. And we want to get these foreign boats out. And this undermined the progress that had been made. Tonto means mental. Okay, crazy. Have a good time. Okay. I was wondering too, yes. So we learned this is like a public service, okay? I'm providing a public service here. You're learning new words like telt and tonto and bam. Okay, so this is Michel Barnier. He's going to give an update on the talks are going to take place. And now it seems that Boris Johnson is going to go to Brussels and meet with Ursula von der Leyen in person, probably on Wednesday. Although it's not completely confirmed yet, but let's hear what they had to say.
Brexit is a school of patience, even a university of patience.
Michel Barnier in Brussels, sounding a little weary. The Prime Minister, ahead of his trip there, said he hadn't given up hope of a trade deal.
We're a long way apart still, but you know, hope springs eternal, and I'll do my best to sort it out if we can.
In Brussels earlier, Michael Gove signed off a deal with the European Commission Vice President Šefčovič that is expected to improve the atmosphere at those trade talks.
Actually, it's not a deal. I don't know why they're saying a deal. It's not a deal. It's they're implementing the Northern Ireland Protocol, which was agreed before. What they were talking about was how to implement it. It wasn't a deal.
The two have reached an agreement on what checks are needed for goods crossing between Britain and Northern Ireland. It's a U-turn by the government, maybe even a peace offering. The government had brought in a bill which ripped up the commitments in the withdrawal agreement, something even one minister acknowledged broke the law.
Yes, this does break international law in a very specific and limited way.
That was I think that will go down in 2020 as the most ridiculous statement of 2020. Yes, we're going to break the law in a very specific and limited way. You'll be able to use that in the future. I hope people will be able to use that, or maybe not have to use it, but I hope if necessary you can use it in the future. If you're stopped by the police and they say, look, you were speeding, and you say, I was speeding in a very limited and specific way. Don't give me a fine. Brexit talks dragging on endlessly remind me of the furniture store. This time definitely ending sales on Friday. Do you know taps off expression to Max? Good way to do your chat with mic off on Glasgow Speak. Italy is really not. I don't understand that. Hot Springs Eternal. I have no idea what he's talking about there. Imagine a murderer using that excuse. Like, I did murder him, but in a very limited and specific way.
The withdrawal agreement stipulated that goods going from Northern Ireland to Britain had to fill in an export declaration form. The controversial clauses in the Internal Market Bill overruled that, but they've now been dropped. The withdrawal agreement said goods going from Britain to Northern Ireland had to abide by EU rules, including those on state aid. The Internal Market Bill clauses said ministers could overrule that, but those clauses have now been dropped.
Now, the argument for implementing these was we need to protect sovereignty. The sovereignty of the UK is at stake. We need to have these measures in the Internal Market Bill. If we don't, we're undermining the sovereignty of the UK. And now they threw them away. Now, look, I never believed that they were necessary, or actually the argument was true that it was necessary to have them. It was all a ploy. It was all an attempt at a bargaining chip, creating a bargaining chip, turning Northern Ireland into a bargaining chip, saying basically to the European Union, we can't negotiate with you honestly. So what we're going to do is we're going to threaten something that's not part of the negotiations. It's very important to remember what Michael Gove and the European Commission Vice President were doing. They were talking about something that was already agreed, the Northern Ireland Protocol. Guys, we're 333 viewers. Smash that like button. Or I'll have to upload more videos about Boris Johnson. did not work though. No, it didn't. It didn't work. So they had what they wanted to do was use it as a threat, saying, okay, we can't make any progress in the negotiations, so we're going to threaten something else that's not related to the negotiation. It's basically saying, if you went to buy a car and you're negotiating to buy the car, and the salesman said, look, if you don't buy this car, I'm going to come round to your house and smash your windows. You're like, what? But in a very limited and specific way. And you're like, well, what's that got to do with me buying a car? No, I'm going to ask a friend of mine to go to your house and smash your windows. That would be the equivalent of it. Not a very good analogy, I know. But basically threatening to throw Northern Ireland under a bus, to undermine peace in Northern Ireland in order to get something in the negotiations. But again, I think it wasn't even about getting something in the negotiations. It was about playing to Brexiteers, saying, look, we have to show to the Brexiteers that we're winning here. The negotiations are not about coming to a conclusion, converging on something. It's about winning. I think this is the fundamental problem with Brexiteers. It's all a game for them. It's about winning and losing. It's not about negotiations. When you negotiate, for example, let's say with the car, I'm going to shoot my foot with a gun if you don't agree. Exactly, Ministerian. Thank you very much for that super chat. It's like saying... now I've got distracted. It just doesn't make any sense. Yes, what I was saying is about playing a game. It's all about winning and losing. It's not about... I lost my train of thought for a moment. The idea that I go to buy a car, I negotiate. So the seller wants to sell me a car. I want to buy a car. We come to an agreement. I pay him or her X, and they sell the car for X. We come to an agreement. Maybe they add in some extras. Maybe I decide to... if I pay a certain amount in cash, I might get a bit of a discount. This is how it works. But the Brexiteer way is like, I won the car. They lost the car and I won the car. Tom, thank you very much for that very specific and limited super chat. Very kind of you. Thank you very much for that. But it's like this, winning and losing. We won, the Remainers lost, the European Union lost. Why? They will use it with the European Union, but they won't use it when it comes to, for example, the United States. You didn't hear Brexiteers saying, look at how we defeated Japan. We kicked Japan's ass and they gave us ours. Sorry, for our American friends on the stream, we kicked Japan's arse. And look at what they gave us. But don't actually look at what they gave you, because then you would see who got kicked in the arse. But why is it when it comes to the European Union, it's some sort of fight. It's some sort of game. There's a winner and there's a loser. But when it comes to the United States, it's a Tory car very good at U-turns. It doesn't actually have any... It doesn't actually turn left. It just keeps going around and around. In one continuous U-turn. Brexiteers haven't felt Brexit yet. That's probably a good point, Min in Malta. But once again, this idea, it's winning and losing. We won, the European Union lost. But they never use it with, we won, America lost. We won, Japan lost. We won, Canada lost. We won, Australia lost. Doesn't make any sense. But then they don't make any sense.
We've secured Northern Ireland's position within the customs territory of the UK.
But I thought it was necessary to have this aspect of the internal market bill to secure Northern Ireland's position in the UK. Notice the little flag. It's like, let me put on my I'm a Patriot flag. He probably wasn't even wearing it during the negotiations with the European Union. He's like, wait a minute, I need to convince the Brexiteers that I'm on their side.
And we've given certainty to businesses in Northern Ireland that their life will be able to continue in the future in a productive way.
There are... But it's basically like saying, you know, I bought a new mobile phone. Here's the contract. I signed the contract. And then I go around and tell all my friends, look at the contract that I got with the mobile phone company. Isn't this fantastic? You know, I beat them. I'm paying them this money per month for this contract. Isn't that amazing? You know, and it was even printed out already for me, you know. They printed it out 6 months ago before I actually went to the store to buy the phone or to have the contract. We won, fishes lost. I think the EU will be sold the same. Will be sold the same way. Yeah, look, politicians will try to spin it as we won, the other side lost. But I don't think in a way the European Union will be doing it. It's not their style. But also, they also want Boris to be able to sell a deal if he gets a deal. Now, I actually, where I'm going to get to now, I might as well get to the point. I don't think Boris is going to get a deal. I think he's going to have no deal. But he's not going to sell it as no deal. He's going to sell it as an Australian-style deal. Why? Because Brexiteers and the general public wouldn't know the difference. This was something we talked about a long time ago. And I talked about this towards the beginning of the channel. I said, like, what does Brexit mean to Brexiteers? Leave means leave. Brexit means Brexit. You know, we won, you lost. They actually don't know what Brexit is. So, and you know, my old pizza analogy, if I brought you a pizza, you know, you say, well, this is what you asked for, a frozen pizza, a picture of a pizza with pineapple on it. And there would be so much buyer's remorse, or not even buyer's remorse, the fact that they know that, well, you know, we voted for this, well, then it's great. You know, it's once again, the team lost, but the team played well. My team lost 3-0, but we played well. You know, if we won 3-0, 3-0, we did a fantastic job. We always do well. So Brexit is always going to be good. If Boris Johnson brought back a deal, I want pineapple pizza. Get off the stream, Mark. If Boris brings back a deal, it would be fantastic. If Boris doesn't bring back a deal, it would be fantastic. How can both of those situations be fantastic? It doesn't make any sense.
Still lots of details that need to come. We cannot build business plans just on agreements of principle. And as well as that, no matter what happens now, no matter what they announce tomorrow or in the next few days, quite simply, Northern Ireland business will not be ready. We will not have enough detail and we will not have enough time.
UK negotiators will now...
Once again, the European Union have been informing businesses for years, for at least, not years, but at least a year and a half, prepare for a no-deal Brexit. Let's hope that we don't have it, but prepare for it. Boris Johnson and Michael Gove have been telling businesses, don't worry, we're going to get a deal, we're going to get a deal, we're going to get a deal, and then at the last minute, prepare for no deal. Like, what? How can we prepare for something that you haven't told us about? You have been telling us the opposite. Boris Johnson said, I don't remember when it was probably last year, or even, no, it wasn't even last year, it was at the beginning of this year, that to fail to get a deal would be a failure of statecraft. It'd be a failure of politics not to get a deal. Now he's crashing out, he's planning to crash out without a deal. Now, as I said before, he's going to leave, this is my idea, he's going to leave without a deal, but he's not going to call it no deal, he's going to call it an Australian-style deal, because most people wouldn't know the difference. Yeah, Boris has an Australian-style deal. What does that mean? Like in Australia, you know, the deal that Australia have with the European Union. Australia doesn't really have a deal with the European Union. They have some agreements, but those agreements are not enough. That's why they're, at the moment, negotiating a trade deal with the European Union. Yes, but ours would be better. Why? because we're more passionate about Brexit. We believe in it more. We have David Frost. He believes in Brexit, even though back in 2016 he said something a little bit different. Australia is a buzzword for xenophobes. Very good point. Yeah, Australian style immigration system, Australian style deal. We don't give him those agreements. North Korea style deal is apartheid Brexit. Commonwealth Bank of Australia is moving to Amsterdam. Yes, stuff Brexit. Very good. I love that name, stuff Brexit. Yeah, that was actually a point I was going to raise during the stream. It's about the Bank of Australia, Australian bank is moving from London to Amsterdam because of Brexit. That's the Brexit dividend. Then Australia gets a deal with the EU. We live closer to those Aussies. That's why. Aussie deal means sale of Vegemite and barbecues. Oh no, Marmite and Vegemite. I'm not a big fan of either.
Now plan with Boris Johnson how to conduct tomorrow's meeting with European Commission President. Some worry the two sides may still be talking at cross purposes.
The British still seem to think that if only they can talk to Merkel or Macron and the big boys and the big girls in the governments, they can lean on that silly Mr Barnier to be more flexible. When in fact it's the governments who are pushing Mr Barnier to be less flexible.
Exactly. So this is not something new. This has been something that Brexiteers have been pushing all the while, saying, look, Michel Barnier is the problem. Get him out of the way, and then we can deal directly with Macron, and we can deal directly with Merkel, or we can deal directly with whoever. No, they have selected Michel Barnier because of his experience and because of his abilities. They want one guy who's strong. I love Vegemite. Good for you. You want a strong negotiator. Barnable. Mr. Barnable. Did he say Barnable? Or did I say Barnable? Barnier. Max, we can give us back on Australian deal. They can get a deal with Australia. It just isn't like the Japanese deal. Getting the scraps off the EU table and not what the paper is written on. Drop bear deal. Marmite much nicer. I have both. Does the Aussie style deal mean that we get Jason and to get our fish in Marion? I have an EU settlement documents sorted, so I can. Oh, the stream is moving the comments too quickly. Let me just read. Roger's comment. I have my EU settlement documents sorted, so I only have to look with a small grin at the next available holiday trip at the Brits queuing and scrambling for documents at the gate. How the tables turn. I don't want people to suffer. Honestly, this is not a case of me feeling positive about this or look how people have done this to themselves. No. The British people are going to suffer. The problem is the people who should be suffering, the people who should be taking the hit, the Jacob Rees-Moggs, the Boris Johnsons, the Nigel Farages, they will be perfectly fine. It's the ordinary people who will be at the bottom of the pile as normal. Barnier is beholden to 27 nations, not 2. Yes. Barnier has been meeting with everyone. He's been meeting with the Irish government. He's been meeting with the French. He's been meeting with the Germans. Meeting any European leader who needs to speak to Barnier. He's been available for them to speak to. Once again, it's this idea that the Brexiteers have is let's just go to Germany and negotiate with Angela Merkel about importing BMWs. No, that's not how it works. I think a fundamental problem is that they don't understand how the EU works. They don't understand what the EU is. And I've said this before on the channel. The EU is willing to take a hit financially if it means protecting the single market. If it's about protecting the European Union itself. It can find the money somewhere It's willing to take that hit. It's willing to throw money at the problem if it goes away. The Brexiteers and Boris Johnson in particular don't seem to understand that. Or they don't want to understand that.
In many ways. So that is, I think, a British misreading of the situation. Equally, on the EU side, they seem to imagine that because the British government would be much better off with a deal, and because Boris Johnson would be stronger politically with a deal in their view, therefore the rational thing for him to do is to go for a deal and make the compromises required.
Yes. I think he's dead on. He's dead right here. The problem is that the... Ben, thank you so much for that super chat. What? The UK is unprepared for Brexit? Then how do you explain the 20 Portaloos in Kent? Thank you very much for that. Kent will be a disaster. I feel sorry for Kent. It's known as the Garden of England. It's going to be the Portaloo of England, I'm afraid. It's going to be an absolute disaster around Dover. So much of the landscape is going to be destroyed. For what? Joking aside, we can joke about Portaloos, and I did before, and bags of horrible stuff. But it's going to be horrible for the people living in Kent. I know, and not everyone voted for Brexit. For the Brexiteers, they voted for it. Well, they can deal with the bags and bottles of nasty stuff. But the the problem is ordinary people who voted against Brexit, they're going to suffer as well. But this guy makes a valid point. The EU believed Boris Johnson was rational. That was their biggest mistake. They actually believed that Brexiteers, that the Tories wanted to have something positive out of this. It's like, I'm trying to imagine, we all probably know somebody who maybe is having some problems. And you try to reach out to them and you say, look, I'll try and help you out. And their response is to punch you in the face. And you say, look, why are you doing that? And you then realize that this person is not rational. This person is insane. They prefer to live in Portaloos than with Portaloos around them than actually, come to an agreement with you. No, okay, I'm just talking nonsense now because I'm reading the chat and I'm not focusing on what I want to say. Andrew, thank you so much for that super chat. Johnson can't survive a no deal. That will be his resignation. See, that's the problem. This is his get out of jail card. Boris is not going to sell a no deal. He's going to sell an Australian style deal or a Canadian style deal or some other bullshit type of deal. He's not going to sell it as a no deal. Because yes, you're right. A no deal, and thanks again for that super chat, a no deal would mean I'm out. I failed. But it's a bit like, I keep using these ridiculous analogies, but it's a bit like how Ryanair, if anyone has flown with Ryanair will say from London to Paris is 1 hour. They will say the flight is 1 hour. But in reality, the flight is 45 minutes. So if they arrive any time between 45 minutes and an hour, they're on time. They create the illusion that they're never late, when in reality sometimes they are late. I think Boris Johnson is doing something similar. He's trying to say, look, of course, if I don't get a deal, I'll have to resign. He's saying that, but he's not going to have no deal. Of course he's going to get a deal. It'll just be an Australian-style deal. And I think if you look at some of the Brexiteers who have been talking in Parliament about this, for example, Peter Bone, I don't know if you've seen Peter Bone, he was saying how he is willing to bet his house, on the fact that Boris Johnson will get a deal. Well, there's nothing to lose if there's no real bet, because Boris Johnson has probably told the Brexiteers within his party, look, we're going to leave without a deal, but we're going to sell it as an Australian-style deal, or something like that. Maybe they won't use Australia, they'll use Canada, or they'll use some other type of deal, North Korean style deal, or a Boris Brexit deal, that's probably what they're going to do. Now, is it a guarantee? Of course not. Is there a possibility that he'll be honest and say, no, look, we couldn't get a deal because the EU were too resistant to our reality. They wouldn't respect our sovereignty. No, I think he will get something, and he will say this Australian-style deal respects our sovereignty. It respects. It allows us to take back control of our borders, of our money, of our what else was it? Our laws. There, that's it. The mistress deal, Afghanistan-style deal. That's my interpretation of what's happening at the moment. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope, the best case scenario would be for Boris Johnson to get a reasonably good, for both sides, trade deal, so that there would not be tariffs going forward, that there wouldn't be so much disruption in January. But see, if he did something like that, then he's going to piss off the ERG. He's going to piss off the Brexiteers. And then what they'll do is in January, they'll say, this deal doesn't respect our sovereignty, doesn't respect our, doesn't take back control, because it will seem as if control hasn't been given back. Like, how do you convince the public that they've lost something when they haven't lost something? This is something Brexiteers are really good at. I'm not talking about the ones on YouTube. I'm talking about the ones in Boris Johnson's cabinet, in the Conservative Party. They convinced the public that they didn't have something, that something was stolen from them, when in reality they had it all the time. It's a bit like someone coming into your home and, hiding your wallet and then saying, look, the immigrant neighbor stole your wallet. Don't worry, I'll go and get it back. When in reality, the wallet was still always hidden under the pillow. Shopping for fruit would be like the Hunger Games. Wish the ERG would go lie in a ditch, never to return. Now, the ERG at the moment is merging into some new horrible monster. I think because of COVID, they're running with this COVID recovery group. That would probably die out quite soon. We have a vaccine at the moment that's probably going to run its course for another 6 or 7 months, and then they'll have a new group, Theresa style deal. That would have been much better than what's on the table at the moment. Bring back Thatcher, the milk snatcher. Kent, the Garden of England is pure. The Garden of England is pure, and it is wondrous allure. And it has a wondrous allure. Beautiful and green. It's verdant, serene. But it's never had so much manure. Beautiful. If you steal my wallet, can you put some money in it? It's like the joke where, was it a burglar broke into my home to look for some money. I got up and we had a look together. It's funny, like COVID deniers are often infected by hoax. Benny Hill deal, that's the best yet. Yo Thatcher, the milk snatcher. Wasn't that brought her down, though?
My own information is he's actually quite relaxed about the prospects of no deal.
One of the compromises signed off today is that the EU will not have customs officials permanently placed in a Northern Ireland office. They'll visit, maybe hot desk or work from home. In Brussels over dinner tomorrow night, many more compromises will need to be explored if the negotiations are to get back on track.
We will see. So I want to move on to the next article about there's a bit more detail about the Northern Ireland protocol. I'll just open this. So, as they said in this report, so the UK drops plans to break international law as Northern Ireland deal is reached. So the government is dropping controversial plans to break international law in relation to Brexit, following a behind-the-scenes deal between the UK and EU. It has announced. The EU diplomatic sources warned that while the U-turn was a reset moment for relations with the UK, it was not a game changer for trade talks, which remain deadlocked. Yes, this is something separate from the trade talks, of course. On Tuesday, the government said it would abandon all the Brexit clauses related to Northern Ireland in the internal market bill. In the internal market and finance bills, following in exchange for promises by the EU to minimise checks and controls due to be imposed on food and medicines going into Northern Ireland from Great Britain on the 1st of January. So, as they said in the report, yes. So what's happening is that the EU said, okay, we're going to reduce our checks and controls on goods moving from Great Britain into Northern Ireland in exchange for you taking away these measures. So this was a bigger compromise on the side of the EU than on the UK side, because the UK had no warrant to have that. They were saying, we're going to break international law, and the EU said, okay, we'll take you seriously. How about we ask our officers not to visit every week, but maybe every 2 weeks or once a month, or once every 6 months. How about that? And Boris Johnson said, okay. Actually, when you think about it that way, who actually compromised? Was it a real compromise on, maybe the EU were never really planning to have people posted there on a continuous basis. Chelsea is going to celebrate. Irish reunification deal. How the hell can you minimize checks moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland without damaging the internal market? Actually, the internal market bill, I want to tell you, this Irish freedom deal, the internal market bill is more focused on Scotland, is more geared to taking control of, taking away powers in Scotland and in Wales in particular Scotland, because they want to set up a body in Scotland to manage regulations that Scotland should have received. Powers that have been returned from Europe to the UK. These powers, instead of going to Scotland in some cases, are going to another group, another organisation in Scotland, which is set up by Westminster. How's it going to feel? How's it going? How do you feel about the EU greeting from San Diego, California? Great to have you on, Michael. Great to have you on. Hope you're well. How's it going? Oh, we're very well. Thank you for coming on the stream. They try to undo devolution. Yeah, no, the Tories are completely against devolution. In the same way they were against the NHS at the beginning. They were against devolution. They're still against devolution. Never mind what Jacob Rees-Mogg says. He voted, I show you his voting record, he voted against giving more powers to Scotland and Wales. So he's not pro-devolution. Ignore what he says. Look at his voting record. And this internal market bill is a power grab. Now, there will be some powers returned to Scotland, but there will be powers that will not go to Scotland. They will go to a body set up by Westminster. But at the end of the day, Boris Johnson doesn't care about the Scottish people. He doesn't care about devolution. He wants to concentrate power around him. And that's the end goal of the Conservative Party. Whether Boris Johnson is there or not, they are about concentrating power in Westminster. At the moment, they can't do it because it would be quite damaging to them. But they will do it bit by bit. On Tuesday, so we'll go on back to this. On Tuesday, the government said that it will abandon all the Brexit clause, including Northern Ireland. Sorry, I read that part. Yeah, so details on the checks are expected to be disclosed on Wednesday, but the Cabinet Minister, Michael Gove, and the European Commission Vice President Maros Sefcovic, I know I'm mispronouncing that, apologies, announced that they had sealed an agreement specifically for checks on animals, plants, and derived products, export declarations, the supply of medicines, the supply of chilled meats, and other food products to supermarkets. So this is goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. They also agreed agriculture and fish business would be exempt from the state aid rules, and drew up the long-awaited list of goods not at risk of being smuggled across the border into the Republic of Ireland. Yeah, so this was, of course, a problem for the EU. So certain goods would come across from the UK, from Great Britain into Northern Ireland, and there was a risk that they could be sold on in the Republic of Ireland, and they would not be checked. So they said, look, we need to have a list of goods that are at risk, and of course a list of goods that are not at risk. Clearing its in-tray, the Joint Committee also revealed a decision on the makeup of the arbitration panel to adjudicate on any future Brexit disputes. In view of these mutual agreed solutions, the UK will withdraw clauses 44, 45 and 47 of the UK Internal Market Bill and not introduce any similar provisions in the taxation bill. It's actually interesting. I had actually uploaded a video today about this, but because the situation had changed, I had to cancel the video. It was about the vote in Parliament yesterday. The deal was sealed in a meeting of the UK-EU Joint Committee, chaired by Gove and Šefčovič, which is mandated to implement the Northern Ireland Protocol and other parts of the withdrawal agreement signed in January. So not really a huge amount here, but it is something positive in a way, because it's not going to damage the internal market. It's not going to damage the withdrawal agreement. It's not going to damage the Good Friday Agreement. And it will not undermine peace in Northern Ireland, therefore. It is interesting that Brexiteers said it was absolutely necessary. And Michael Gove dropped it, and Brexiteers don't seem to really have a problem with that. Now, I know Jeff Taylor uploaded a video about it. I haven't seen it yet. I will check it out. But there hasn't been shouts, from the rooftop saying, this is a tragedy, treason. How could you, undermine sovereignty like this? Because they were saying it was absolutely necessary. People were coming onto my channel and saying it's absolutely necessary. This is fundamental to UK sovereignty. And then Michael Gove dropped it, and okay. I don't understand. How can you be so adamant about something, and then as soon as it's dropped by, your side, okay. It's a bit like, other aspects of Brexit. They say, Brexit is going to, it's going to be an amazing future. We're not going to lose jobs. We're going to create millions of jobs. It's going to be sunlit uplands. And then when you hear about, certain companies are going to stop operating in the UK. Well, so it doesn't harm me. I don't care. Do you understand? How can people say this thing is really, really important to me? Then when you point out a problem about it, they say, well, I don't care. You can't, these people are not honest. If somebody points out a problem with the EU, I'll admit it's a problem. If it's a real problem, I'll say, look, this is something that should be reformed. This is a problem. The EU have many problems. Many things that need to be reformed. I'm not a sycophant when it comes to the European Union. But most of the people, I'm not saying everyone, but most of the people who come onto the channel seem to be sycophants for Brexit. They never point out anything negative. Or as soon as you point out something negative, they say, no, this is positive. And then as soon as Boris Johnson drops it, it wasn't important anyway. Simon Coveney appears pessimistic about the deal, like Max. I think it's, at this stage, not from how the negotiations are going, because we can't understand how the negotiations are going, because the EU will say one thing, Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers will say another thing. I'm talking about the Brexiteers in his government. It's very difficult to understand how the negotiations are going, because we're not privy to them. We can only look at how Boris Johnson is, his language. And at the moment, his language seems to be, well, we're preparing for January the 1st. Things are going to change. He's not talking up a deal. He's not saying, look, we're close to the end. We're going to get something. We're very close. There's just a few more things to sort out, and then we're going to get a deal. He's not talking like that. Boris Johnson is not the type of person to be very, how can I say, pragmatic. He's someone who talks up things. Remember coming out to the general election how everything's going to be great. When Brexit was at the beginning of the negotiation, everything is going to be fantastic. We're going to get a great deal. Everything is going to be hunky-dory. Sunlit uplands, brilliant. Nothing can go wrong. Now he's a bit more. We can manage. That's not good. Midnight, good night. Thank you very much for coming on the stream, Minas Malta. Your comments are always appreciated. Oh, Max, yes, we share some trolls, as it seems to. Oh, yes. I've put, look, if somebody wants to discuss with me about something in a legitimate way, then we can have a discussion. If people are just coming on to call me a Ramoner or write about, how the European Union is the reincarnation of the Antichrist or something, reincarnate, you know what I'm talking about, then sorry, you get hidden. They really are doing discussions that are just playing Archie birds because the English stubbornness. I think it's about this sort of stubbornness or this type of football mentality. Thanks, Maximilian, for your great analysis. Thank you very much, Riel. Sorry. It's about this footballism. Our team wins, your team loses. It's a zero-sum game. If I win, you lose. If you win, I lose. There is no middle ground. There isn't a cooperation. There isn't, and it seems to be just about the European Union. They hate. This is what I'm seeming to understand about Brexiteers. And once again, it's difficult to. I don't want to paint everyone with the same brush, because I understand people who, in reality, are different to how they are online. I know I'm pretty sure Jeff Taylor is a different kettle of fish when he's in person. If you sat down and had a pint of ale with him, than if you talk to him online. But there is this sort of mentality of we won, the others lost. Footballification, yes. And I think it's extremely damaging. And it's not just when it comes to Brexit. It's about everything. People will defend Boris Johnson because he's part of their team. You should actually be calling out the people on your team. I think it's extremely damaging, and it's not the way forward. We should be trying to dismantle that as much as possible. Anyway, let's get to this story. So it says Honda warns port congestion could cause production halt. So Honda has warned that a shortage of car parts caused by congestion at the UK ports could force it to temporarily halt production at its Swindon plant. The Japanese carmaker told employees on Tuesday that due to transport-related delays, potential parts shortage could interrupt production at the factory. The company is looking at alternative arrangements such as flying parts in, but production could grind to a halt as early as Wednesday. Because companies up until this stage have been buying in bulk parts and components that they need. Now, this is a problem because it's more expensive, because you have to buy them in large quantities. Okay, you get maybe a bit of a discount, but then you have to store them, and storage is extremely expensive. Now, if you're storing car parts, that's not really a huge issue. You can put them on a shelf. But imagine if you're storing perishable goods, or you're storing something like medicine that needs to be maybe refrigerated or whatever. This is a huge issue. You can't buy a lot of it and just stick it in a warehouse. You have to run the warehouse. You have to pay for the warehouse. You have to pay for the maintenance of, the electricity, the heating, or whatever. This is going to drive up the cost. And then I imagine what many of these companies are doing is that they're doing this now so that they avoid a disaster in January. So whatever problems we see in January have been somewhat mitigated because companies have planned ahead. Now the problem is that if in January and February the situation hasn't been sorted out, those stocks will run low. Companies will be forced to buy stocks in again, And if there are delays, they're going to see serious problems. So technically, what could happen in January is maybe not an absolute disaster. Now, Brexiteers will claim victory. Yes, we won. See, Brexit was not a disaster. Project Fear has been defeated. But it has been mitigated and the can has been pushed or kicked down the road a little bit. Once again, I'm hoping this is not the case. I hope I'm wrong. But it's not just me talking about this. The car maker joined a growing number of businesses complaining of disruption that can be traced back to the ports. And also this the fact of flying in parts. How much more expensive is it to fly in parts instead of transporting them by road? The car maker joined a growing number of businesses complaining about the disruption that can be traced back to the ports. Builders are reporting a shortage of power tools, timber and roof tiles, while retailers are struggling to get stock into stores in time for Christmas. And this is going to be another problem, actually, that this highlights another problem. Companies build up a lot of stock for Christmas. Once Christmas is over, well, their stocks are going to be low again. And what's going to happen is in January, they're going to try and replenish those stocks, but they will run into problems because of the ports and because of the disaster of Brexit. The situation at the ports has been described as a perfect storm, with operators overwhelmed by the surge in freight volumes at a time when they're able to handle it is hampered by coronavirus restrictions. Remember, I said during the summer that Boris Johnson should have asked for an extension to the transition period in order to allow him to deal with this. But no. We can deal with the pandemic and we can deal with Brexit at the same time. Since September, the country's biggest container port, Flexdo, which has been struggling to cope as firms rushed to replenish stock after lockdown ended, while simultaneously building stockpiles before the final Brexit deadline. Last month, The Guardian reported that 11,000 containers of government-procured PPE were part of the problem in Flexdo. That backlog has since been reduced to about 4,000 and should be cleared by Christmas. Congestion at Flexdo is a problem for the whole country, as it handles about 40% of all containers coming into and out of the UK. However, the congestion has spread to other ports, including Southampton and London Gateway. Flexdo. Thank you very much, Mr. Spoon. Pronunciation is my Achilles heel. Air freight is crazy expensive. Sorry, just read some of your comments. No, somebody had said, damn it, I can't see it now. I really don't see Toyota flying car parts to Swindon on a Antonov for cars going to Finland. Yes. My company ships car parts. Thanks very much for that comment, Nick. My company ships car parts. Believe me, air freight is ridiculous. Everything is going by boat. Shipping costs can be 2/3 of what you buy. It is terrible. See, shipping, even for small parts, but if you have a small industry, maybe you can ship the parts in by air. But if you're building cars, you can't do that. Elderly may suffer most. Max, it's Felix. Like Felix the town. Felixstowe. Why was I saying Flexstowe? Felixstowe. Felixstowe. Okay. Felix like the cat. Thank you very much for that. Zeppelins are clearly the solution. Back to the Zeppelin days. You will get all your car parts. It may take a while. 6 months. All Toyota needs is to train some fish to swim there. To swim it there. Especially during COVID, yes. Agree on freight by air. Only use on prototypes. But we use helium this time. Good idea, Mark. Yes. No more Hindenburg disasters. So we're close to the end of the stream tonight, but no, I just want to read some more of your comments. Airlift, the Brexit airlift, dropping packages from cargo planes. Mini already have plans to move production into to the German-Austrian border. Sad times for Oxford. That's very sad, because Mini started in the UK, started in England, of course, and I know it was bought out by BMW years ago, but the idea of losing the factory is a huge blow to Oxford. How come you like Scottish independence but not Brexit? Charlie asks. So, because one is about, if the British people had chosen Brexit because it was the right idea, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. I actually, it's much more complicated. First of all, there shouldn't have been a referendum, because that's not the role of, that's Parliament's job. It was Parliament's job to decide whether the UK should remain in the European Union or not. That should have been a campaign, an election campaign. We will vote for us, and we will leave the European Union. That should have been a campaign, because that's what the UK democracy is. It's a parliamentary monarchy. It's not a direct democracy where you vote in referendums on very important issues. And the problem as well is that the public were not informed. You could apply the same to Scotland. Okay, Scotland will become independent. You vote for independence supporting parties. Vote for the SNP, for example. If the SNP win a majority, then Scotland leaves without a referendum. You could have it that way. I could apply the same logic in that way, but it's instead it seems to be going down the way of a referendum. But the problem for me with Brexit is that the British public were not informed. There was no independent body set up to explain the positives and the negatives of European membership. Instead, you had one group of politicians on one side who were extremely unpopular, and then you had Nigel Farage on the other, just telling lies, invited on BBC every night. He was never really challenged. And people were convinced that they were going to get a deal like Switzerland. Like, how, if people were told, yeah, you're going to get a deal like Switzerland, and you haven't got a deal like Switzerland, well then shouldn't Brexit have been cancelled because it was a lie? If the people were telling you, when we leave the European Union, we're going to get a deal like Switzerland, and you didn't get a deal like Switzerland, then how is that a victory? Is that not a lie? Shouldn't it all be cancelled? It's like if a politician says, not even a politician, if somebody says, if you buy this computer, it will connect you to the internet, and you take the computer home and it doesn't work. Do you say, well, look, my fault for buying this computer from this dodgy individual, selling it from the boot of his car? Maybe you can say, yes, that is your problem. But if the entire nation were tricked into voting for something that was completely false, wasn't planned out, there was no information given to the public, people were not informed about what the European Union did. They were only told, well, the European Union want to straighten our bananas and change our electrical sockets. There's going to be a lot of angry car workers in 2021. I hope so, David. I'm not asking for people to protest in a very aggressive way, but people, this is what people should be doing in 2021. Look at the people who told you, the Brexiteers who told you everything is going to be good. You need to vote for this. This is going to make Britain great again. Look at the people who, those people, you know who they are. They're sitting in Parliament today saying how everything's going to be great. When you lose your job, you organise and you picket their home. That's what you need to do. You need to put pressure on those MPs because they lied to you. Or if it's not those MPs in your area, picket your local Tory MP. The one whose even if that Tory MP was a Remainer, picket their house, picket their office. That's what you need to do. Put pressure on them to put pressure on the government. That's the only way things will change. Complaining about it, writing about it on Facebook, talking about it in comment sections is not going to change anything. People are the only movement left. Organize. March on people, march on these MPs' offices or even their homes. No threatening behavior, but if you put sufficient pressure on them, if they feel, wait a minute, like there is pressure on, but it has to be consistent, not just let's go there on a Saturday afternoon and, hurl a few insults. It has to be consistent. Now, if these workers have been laid off, they have a lot of time on their hands. They should be picketing until Ian Duncan Smith knows. A general strike, yes. General strike. Bring the country to its knees. Now, you would need to be very tough. Unfortunately, I think the situation, a revolution, I don't think that's necessary. Not yet. Don't agree with picketing homes. That sounds rather right-wing. I would say the offices. But the problem with the offices, if the politician is not in the office, then you're shouting at empty air. But the people who threw these workers under a bus have a name and an address. Thank you very much, Vicky. Very kind of you. Every Tory member of Parliament is complicit. Yes. These people don't give a crap about the working class. These people don't give a crap about these workers. They used these workers. Boris Johnson was happy to take photos with workers in car facilities because he knew they were actually going to be thrown under a bus later on. Good night, Stanley Beckett. Thanks for coming on the stream. Boris Johnson took photos with people who he knew would lose their job in a year's time. He used those people. He abused their trust. And now he's complaining about how he can't survive on £150,000 a year. And then as soon as he's kicked out of the party, out of number 10, he's not going to suffer. You're not going to see Boris Johnson sitting under a bridge or sitting outside a local Tesco Extra with a paper cup in his hand asking for some loose change. Boris Johnson will be frigging okay. Boris Johnson will go back to his comfortable lifestyle where he won't have any pressure whatsoever. And he'll inherit whatever millions are on their way already to his bank account. He'll be doing just fine. But the people who he took photos with will be Tappa off chat tonight. Yes, it's a little bit off Tappa off chat tonight. No, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tappa. A little bit. Do you mean off topic? Underbus levers. under Garden Bridge, definitely not. Evening, Max. I'm very late. So, guys, yes, I will end the stream here tonight. It's when I get a bit motivated, I forget the time. But my heart goes out to the people who've been conned by Boris Johnson. Thanks very much for that super chat, Glasgow Kiss. My heart goes out to the people who have been conned by the con men. Brexiteers on other channels will call me a Ramoner and they'll laugh at my tears. And look, personally, I'm not suffering from this because I'm not living in the UK. But I have friends and family who are. I consider most of the people who come on these streams as friends. And I'm not just saying that to sound cool or anything like that, because most of the people I know who do come on the stream are people who live in the UK. And most of you are going to be affected by this. And I don't want people to suffer. I'm actually hoping Boris Johnson gets a good deal I'm hoping that the European Union compromise in a way that doesn't undermine the European Union, but compromise in ways that does actually help Boris Johnson get something. I've said before, I've given up on Boris Johnson's humanity. But for the sake of the British people, I hope that he gets something. Because it's not fair. People were lied to. People were convinced to vote against their own interests. Older people who are no longer with us voted to destroy the future of younger people. Younger people who are now coming of age. The referendum was in 2016. 4 years ago. Almost 5 years ago. Many young people who were too young to vote are now going to suffer the consequences of it. And they had no choice. They weren't able to stop it. One last request. I'd like to reach out to somebody from Norway. If there's somebody from Norway, I would like them to contact me if possible. I'd like to ask them some questions about Norway. Now, I'll end it here. But before we finish, of course, we're going to have our one for the road. Once again, it's Janie. But I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's come on the stream. I'm sorry if it went a bit doom and gloom towards the end, but I think these things have to be talked about. As we get closer to Brexit, it's going to become much more difficult for a lot of people in the UK, and I'm really angry about how ordinary people are going to suffer because of that. So once again, thanks so much for coming on the stream. Thanks to everyone for sending a super chat. Those are greatly appreciated. A big thank you to the moderators who've done a fantastic bang-up job as always. And everyone who has become a patron or has supported the channel in any way. And you don't have to become a patron. Even just sharing the videos around the internet is a great way to help the channel. So before we finish, of course, we have our one for the road. And if anyone's on Discord, of course, if you become a patron, you can get access to Discord. And after the stream, we have our Discord chat. And we discuss what we talked about tonight. And I rant a bit more, perhaps. So let's have a watch of this before we finish.
Hi there everybody, Nicola here. I was at the caravan this weekend with all the Sandras and Big Isa. Got me this wee two-piece with the Pippity, so I'm wearing it today. Just want to give you a head up, that's the vaccine have arrived in Scotland. A lot of people talking about the vaccine. I saw a report that allegedly the long effects of COVID on men can be erectile dysfunction, or as we call it in Scotland, floppy bobies.
Floppy bobies. Sorry.
So you might want to consider that when you're thinking about the vaccination, whether you should take it or no. Right, over to a journalist for some questions.
Brexit and the possibility of a no deal.
Well, of course, they're leaving the Brexit deal at the last 3 minutes to midnight, but, we're trying to stockpile medicines because that's going to be a big effect to the Brexit no deal. We're doing our best. We're in a pandemic. We're trying to stock up medication and we're hoping Boris does his job right. Right, over to another journalist about William and Kate, who are currently in Scotland.
Do you think the royal visit could help boost morale?
Well, the royal family were told. I mean, it's not for me to tell
The royal family were told
them where they can go in the coastal parameters of Great Britain. They were told that there's a travel ban on, but they're here in Scotland. At least they're wearing masks and a nice wee tartan scarf, so that'll cheer everybody up, no doubt. Anyway, we're just asking you that while this vaccine is still being rolled out, gonna no think that's it, fuck it, we're in clear waters. We're still having to keep each other apart. We still have to wear a mask. You still have to sanitise your hands. You still have to look after each other. Pull on your emotional life jacket and keep your family afloat. Now, I'm going to get my clicky pen and get myself out of here. I will see you tomorrow. I'll be speaking for Parliament. I'll tell you where the next tiers are happening. Make sure you look after each other. Right, I'm out of here. Fucking heat's bursting. Same questions there now again. Frank, get the door. I want a cheese toasty. Move it, Catherine. Hurry up, Alan. Get a jig on.
Fantastic as always, Jane and Goodley. Okay, so once again, thanks to Mr. Floppy. Floppy Bobbies. Floppy Bobbies. Amazing. See, once again, a public service providing you with new words to increase your vocabulary of the Scottish language. So, have a great week, guys. I'll see you all on Friday, same bat time, same bat channel. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much to everyone who's come on the stream. Thanks so much to everyone who has sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thanks again also, of course, to the moderators for doing a fantastic job. And a special thanks to Conservator, who's not feeling very well this evening. Thanks for coming on. I hope you're feeling better soon. So guys, have a great week, and I'll see you all on Friday. Who knows whether we'll have a deal or no deal, or an Australian style deal, or a North Korean style deal. As always, it's been a pleasure. Have a great night. I'll see you soon. Good night. And as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. Take care.